I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. Before your whole California organization type deal, Don Cornelius offered you a deal. How'd that come about?
I was producing a cat. He's still a good friend of mine. His name Boudreaux, and it was me, Boudreaux, and J-Rock from Peace Junkies. We were a group back then, and we were out of Orange County. And the guy that was mentoring us, his name was Melvin Davis. He's a famous bass player. He toured with like Shaka Khan and the Pointer Sisters. You know, he kind of showed us the ropes, and he brought Don Cornelius came down in his Rolls Royce down to Santa Ana to meet us to give us a record deal. You know, but you know, I think we declined the deal back then because there wasn't enough publishing and stuff like that. But we didn't really know what we were doing, you know, business-wise back then. We probably should have took the deal back then because of the exposure alone, you know.
Right, right.
But we decided not to. So and then we formed California a couple years after that.
That's what's up. So California was like your first major, but it was independent, but it was a major album for its time.
Yeah.
What was it like working on that?
It was the funnest album I've ever made. You know, because we didn't have any expectations. You know, I got an investor with a little bit of money. I called up Chill and my homeboy Uni, and you know, all of us got in the studio and just made like a West Coast classic. You know, and we had nothing. There was like 10 of us in the studio, 15. Then it was like 20 of us. Everybody just in there drinking, smoking weed, and making beats. You know, and just. It was fun as hell. And the album ended up doing good. It would have been great if we got paid, you know. And I still get requests from guys, dude, when are you guys going to do a California 2, you know? So we might do that, or, you know, like do an EP or something, you know?
Damn. All right, so the California album, isn't that how you hooked up with Trey D, or did you were you down with Trey D before that?
I was working with Big C Style. And Big C Style and Trey D were homeboys, so that's how me and Trey D got hooked up. You know, and Big C Style is how I got hooked up with Crooked Eye back in the day. Crooked Eye was signed to Big C Style.
Right.
So, and that was the whole Dogtown thing. The first track I ever did, I think that came out was a Snoop Dogg track. It was called Dip on My Lolo.
That was what I was going to ask you about next.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, like no one knows you produced that though. That's the crazy thing. Like, that track's a classic. It's like an underground classic, but no one knows you did it.
Yeah, I was with 40 Glock in the studio making the beats for him the other day, for his new album, and we just got talking about, you know, shit that we're, you know, working with and stuff like that. And I forget who we mentioned, but I mentioned that I did that track. He's like, you made that beat? I love that track, dude, you know? It's crazy because that CD, the LBC Crew album never came out, but they used that beat on the Dogfather album. And they used it as like a snippet, and I remember that was the first time I got paid for making a beat. I think they gave me $10,000. And yeah, well, that's what I used to get paid back then in the day. You know, when hip hop had a little money around here, you know, I was out there selling beats for $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 a pop.
Right.
You know, now it's just a small community of producers that are making that type of money. You know.
Yeah. Damn.
But
crazy.
The LBC Crew was dope back then. That's still a dope cut.
Yeah. They might actually be putting that album out soon, or at least that's what I'm hoping. So you might get another paycheck off it.
Yeah, that'd be great, you know. And that was the first time I got introduced to Death Row, because Snoop actually called me on the phone after I made the track. He's like, I didn't even know you made this beat. He's like, come up to the studio. Him and Big C Style called me on three-way. And so then I rolled up to Can-Am, which was the Death Row Studios back then, and I remember DJ Quick was in one room and Ice Cube was in there, and then the other room, in the back room, it was Snoop and Dre was up there. Everybody was up there, Daz and Corrupt. And the studio there was like 30 people in that studio that had dogs running around and shit. It was wild weed smoke. You know, Suge was in the back office. It was great. It was like a, you know, that's when Death Row was really exciting right then too. I was supposed to sign back then, but a guy by the name of Big Jake, he was the one that was going to get me signed to Death Row. The week before I signed my contract, he got killed in Atlanta. He was gunned down.
That thing. Damn. That's actually what caused the East Coast West Coast beef, wasn't it? Or the supposed East Coast West Coast beef.
That's what kicked off a lot of shit right there. And it was weird because I was right there at the time. I was right there about to sign with him in Death Row at that moment. You know, and when he got killed, everything fell through, and it's crazy how I ended up a few years later going back and getting signed at Death Row.
Like all the old people who hung around like Death Row, like you and Keisha Cole, and all the people who were just around, they actually ended up being like Death Row second generation. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Ray J was over. I did a gang of songs with Ray J over there.
Damn.
I still got them. So I heard some of them. They were on the internet.
Yeah, there's a couple. You got that Youngster song, and then you got R.I.P. Buntry, and all kinds of shit. Like Death Row's old webmaster, he bootlegged them, and then someone leaked them after he bootlegged them.
Yeah, I produced all those songs.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about those later on in the interview, but I guess we go ahead and get those out of the way. Yeah, but that's crazy though. Oh, I was gonna ask you, did you ever produce for Murder for Hire? That was Jake's group that was supposed to sign to Death Row, but I'm not sure if they ever did.
You know what? I don't think I did back then. I think he brought down Red Rum with him one time. I did a track with him, and he had heard the stuff that I did for the LBC crew, and then Crooked Eyes, some stuff I did for him, and just off the basis of all that, they wanted to sign me. We joined a bunch of the instrumental beats they heard, you know.
Right. All right. This one actually, I remember this funny story that I heard that like when you were working with the Bone Thugs or whatever, they thought that you were like black or whatever because they heard your beats or whatever, and I think you talked about it in like an interview or something, and they threw chairs and shit. Like they didn't know like you were Latin or whatever. I mean,
no, that's not why they threw the chairs though. They actually met me from the Booyah Tribe back in the day, and they heard my beats. Right. And then they were like, we want to meet this guy, right? So I came in the studio, and when I played the beats, they got so hyped up that they just started rapping, and I remember Busy Bone jumped on top of a table and just threw a chair like, yeah, damn, like that. Where have you been, man? You got heat. You know, and him and Lazy just started rapping, and the whole studio started going crazy, man. And I knew then that, I played them the song, the instrumental for the Righteous Ones. That day, and I remember they just started going crazy on it. And they're like, "Dude, we want to do this song right now," you know?
Right.
And that's how I started working with them.
Man,
those dudes are crazy. They're talented too, man. One of a kind, man.
All right. So we talked about, how your Death Row deal came about and all that stuff. Like during when C-Style had like the little 19th Record Street or whatever, did you ever did Crooked Eye ever do an album like there? And did you produce for 19th Street or whatever?
Yeah, I think I produced 5 cuts for Crooked Eye back then. There were 4 or 5 cuts for 19th Street Records on Crooked Eye.
Nice.
And I wish I had those. Those are like 4 or 5 songs that I don't have on them. I think it was cool. I did one. So it was something for the streets or something like that. It was called. It was Crooked Eye and Bo Rock were on it. He was singing the hook. It was a tight song too.
C-Style was actually planning to release all his old tapes and whatever, so I might hook you guys up and see if you can, see if you can get the tapes back or whatever before he like releases them.
Yeah. I haven't talked to C-Style in years, man.